So, is it a fait accompli? If so, where and when is he going? Pierre, do you see the Jack Eichel situation dragging out, or could this happen sooner rather than later?
Well, as I reported earlier today, Gino, I mean, there's no question that the conversations that the Sabres are having with other teams have gotten a little more serious in their tone. So take from that what you will. And the point is this, I think. We are 5 weeks away from the first round of the NHL draft. And I think that in any package that the Sabres end up moving Eichel in, they would prefer to get a first-round pick in the first round on June 23rd as part of a larger package for him. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the case, but certainly I know that's been part of the some part of the conversations they've had with teams. Now, some of the teams that I believe have shown interest include LA and Anaheim and Minnesota, but there are other teams in there as well. I think he gets traded this offseason, and ideally from a Sabres perspective, it happens again before the draft in 5 weeks. So that's not too long from now.
And really, ideally, they move him out of the East because he could really come back to haunt them. Let's talk coaching. Gerard Gallant just got the job with the New York Rangers. The Canes, Coyotes, Seattle, their situations are all still up in the air when it comes to head coaches. What's the latest on those fronts?
Well, let's start with Carolina, because I think Rod Brind'Amour has really been the name that so many people around the league, as you know, have kept a real close eye on. I feel like we've had Rod Brind'Amour updates several times over the past few months because he's so well regarded, and he would be a really hot commodity in the free agent market. And I can tell you this, I think the New York Rangers waited as long as they could. Not that they wouldn't have hired Gerard Gallant anyway, but I think they wanted to know on Rod Brind'Amour, and I think they got word last week that Rod Brind'Amour wanted to stay in Carolina. So all the signs I'm getting, including from a few sources this morning, was that the Brind'Amour situation might finally come to a close in terms of him re-signing in Carolina within the next week or two, and that's certainly a positive news, I think, for both him and for the Hurricanes. But keep in mind that a lot of this delay centered around the fact that Rod Brind'Amour, showing how loyal a guy he is, wanted to make sure that a lot of his staff, not just his assistants, but trainers, all kinds of people throughout the organizations whose deals were up, were also going to be taken care of before he signed on the dotted line. It tells you a lot about Rod Brind'Amour. Now, in terms of Seattle, that's obviously going to be the splashy news. Ron Francis, the GM, wants his first head coach hire to be announced by the end of the month, so that's coming up here within the next 2 weeks. We know that Rick Tocchet has interviewed with the Seattle Kraken. As I wrote today, Rocky Thompson, assistant coach in San Jose, also interviewed, although he's no longer considered a candidate. There have been a few other guys. Ron Francis, super secretive about his process. I wonder if Seattle wants to wait on Lane Lambert, the New York Islanders assistant coach, Barry Trotz's guy, but the Islanders keep playing playoff games, so I don't know if the timing will work. So we'll see. Tocchett's certainly a brand name, a guy that Ron Francis knows well, but I'm not ready to predict 100% that he'll be the guy. We'll see what happens there.
There's a lot of good talent out there available. The other thing to keep in mind is Dominique Ducharme is still working with an interim tag on his title with the Habs, but given the fact he's led them to the Stanley Cup semis,
they'll be dropping that interim tag,
Yeah, I agree with you. It looks pretty good for him to stick exactly where he is right now.